Wesson. Blefko is here for interpretation. Okay. Should we give it another couple minutes and make sure folks have a chance to get here? We have 3 attendees currently. What do y'all think? Okay, I'm going to give it 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. Just want to make sure everyone has a chance to get on. Sound okay?
Let me know if you'd like me to promote Ron Roche or Patrick Obley, the panelists.
Okay, thank you. They're certainly more than welcome to be promoted, but don't know if they're planning to speak.
I'm not planning on speaking, no ma'am. I'm just here to listen.
Okay, I think Miss Stowe in? She is the last one I am looking for. I think she was having trouble getting in. Mr. Jones, do you know anything?
She's in now.
Oh, she's in. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. Oh, there she is. Okay, very good. Well, without further ado, everyone can hear me okay? Okay. Well, good evening. It is Tuesday, June 22nd, and I'm calling this public hearing to order. Orange County Schools Board of Education pledges to our families, students, staff, and the greater community to conduct our business in a courteous and productive manner, showing respect for fellow board members, staff, and citizens. The board asks citizens to conduct themselves with the same courtesy towards all staff members and each other. Tonight, we will hear from the public about the new names being considered for Cameron Park Elementary School. Our board member, Ms. Doyle, is unable to attend tonight's hearing, but she asked me to share that she will watch the recording of this meeting in its entirety before Monday's meeting where a decision will be made. And with that, I will now turn it over to Dr. Felder to give us a brief review of how we arrived at this public hearing. Dr. Felder?
Well, thank you and good evening, Chair McKenzie, Vice Chair Stevens, to all board members, staff, students, family, and community. Before the board begins to hear feedback regarding the renaming of Cameron Park Elementary School, I want to provide background information for tonight's public hearing on the renaming of the schools. Action item 10 in the board's equity resolution calls for the names of buildings in the district to be examined for their origin and compliance with the board's equity policy 1030. Specifically, action item 10 calls for the district to review the names of buildings in our district to examine their origin and compliance with the board's equity policy 1030. Each school-based equity team took on this task, working through the lens of the following 6 areas to ensure alignment to the board's equity policy 1030. Number 1, does the name of the school reflect an interruption of systems, structures, policies, and practices which privilege some students while discriminating against other students? Number 2, does the name of the school reflect fostering a barrier-free environment where all students, regardless of their race, class, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, religious, faith, tradition, family structure, geographic origin, and ability-disability have the opportunity to benefit equally in order to succeed and thrive. Number 3, does the name of the school reflect every adult treating every student as capable of success and recognizes the uniqueness and strengths of each student? Number 4, does the name of the school reflect countering biased behaviors that cause harm to specific groups? Number 5, does the name of the school reflect countering unfair policies, programs, and practices that consistently result in negative outcomes for groups who are disadvantaged by these actions? And last but not least, number 6, does the name of the school reflect negotiating, reallocating, and sometimes reimagining resources, opportunities, and supports when equal distribution of these things, one size fits all, results in inequitable outcomes that do not adequately meet specific needs and interests of all groups of students? Per the Cameron Park Elementary School's Equity Team's findings on February 8th, the board voted to rename Cameron Park Elementary School. Per the C.W. Stanford Middle School's Equity Team's findings on February 22nd, the board voted to rename C.W. Stanford Middle School and requested a process and timeline for renaming both schools. The board approved the proposed process and timeline for renaming both schools on March 8th. On March 10th, the board approved 2 revisions to the renaming schools process, the addition of meeting facilitators, and for the district to have 1 renaming schools committee instead of 2. Members of the community started submitting names for both schools by an online portal, and 1 committee was formed, comprised of 18 people representing a diverse group of parents, staff, students, community members, and 2 meeting facilitators. The renaming schools committee met 6 times, April 20th through May 25th. At the June 7th board meeting, the following name recommendations were presented to the board on behalf of the school renaming committee: for Cameron Park Elementary School, River Park Elementary School, and Arbor Park Elementary School; for C.W. Stanford Middle School, Orange Middle School, Hillsborough Middle School, and Poplar Middle School. Additionally, at the June 7th board meeting, a motion was made and the board voted to approve the consideration of the name Dr. Kismika Corbett Middle School for C.W. Stanford Middle School, bringing the total number of names for the board and community to consider for C.W. Stanford to 4. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is for the board to receive feedback from the community regarding the names recommended for Cameron Park Elementary School. Tomorrow night, the board will receive feedback from the public regarding the names recommended for C.W. Stanford Middle School. The public also provided written feedback through an online portal on the district's website. All board members have access to the online portal to review the written feedback. Madam Chair, this concludes the background information on the school renaming for Cameron Park Elementary School and C.W. Stanford Middle School.
Thank you so much, Dr. Felder.
You're welcome.
And with that, now is the time for public comments. After each speaker has been recognized and unmuted, they will have 3 minutes to speak. When you hear the timer sound, please wrap up your comments. The board will not have a discussion with any speaker. No profane or vulgar language will be permitted or personal abuse against any person. Public comments should not address any specific confidential student or personnel matter. Complaints concerning any specific employee or student are not permissible during public comments. And with that, let me refresh the page just to make sure I have the most up-to-date information. So our first person who has signed up is Katrina Ramquist Wesson, and she has submitted a written comment that will be read by Ms. Melanie Stowe. Melanie? Ms. Stowe?
Good evening. And this comment from Ms. Wesson states, I wholeheartedly support changing the name of Cameron Park Elementary to River Park. As researchers have noted, the Cameron family profited from forced, uncompensated labor of other human beings. The greatest model for our children is to demonstrate how everyone makes mistakes, and the best way to resolve them is to try to make right our wrongs the best we can. It was a mistake to name the school for Cameron, and we have an opportunity to fix that now. We should teach our students the full history of America, which is Black history, including slavery. We must stop revering those who violated human rights by enslaving others, and part of that includes renaming streets, schools, and communities as necessary. And again, this comment was provided by Katrina Wesson.
Thank you, Ms. Stowe. Our next and final speaker is Mr. Mark Dutton.
Thank you,
Mr.
Board.
Dutton.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, welcome, Mr. Dutton.
Thank you. I have two middle schoolers, and I wanted to first just thank the board for allowing the public to speak on this matter. My mother-in-law talks highly of Cameron Park in the 70s as coming like a haven when she returned from Fort Lauderdale with my wife. And I think our family is fitting with strong education foundation that was given at Cameron Park back in the 70s for my wife and her family. But Amber, not to get confused, I like the discussion on 7 June with Dino River High School. And I think you're going to run into that also for the middle schools, is to keep the confusion out. I like that discussion. However, I want to talk about the logic of the prioritizing of the money, because my son is he's in equity between my daughter and my son. He is on a 3rd grade vocabulary learning, and he's in the 6th grade at Stanford Middle. And when I approached the principals at Hillsborough Elementary School, they wanted a hill wrap reading intervention for him, but they couldn't afford it. And it seems like we have unfunded requirements. And in math, he was violently attacked as a kindergarten, his teeth, he still has the scar because there was not a male available to go in the restroom after PE. So teachers' assistants are needed at the elementary school. I know Cameron Park has busted at the seams. Writing, according to Grandma, is lagging behind. His structure, his ability to think independently, critically, it needs to be reinforced. And that was at the elementary school, and that was identified at the 3rd grade. And I just want the board to be aware that he was in pre-K at Eflin Cheeks, and he has been on time, his eyes fresh, food, clothed well, and his attendance is less than a handful of days or hours that he misses any school year. I couldn't get my camera to work, but I got a certificate from his teacher saying he's a willing participant to learn, enthusiastic learner, a hard worker, is always in his comments. However, what we got at the elementary school, which I think you have an opportunity as a board, is the resource need. I don't think it, now that looking back and reflecting, the teachers did the best they could with the resources they had. And with $200,000, I think that's a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not questioning reviewing the change in the name. I think it's the timing coming out of COVID right now. You got students, my son has dropped back another year, and I'm not going to mention the teacher's name at 5th grade.
Mr. Dutton, we can't hear you.
He's still
There's
unmuted.
having him go
so
down
should
to
have
Sylvan to try to get
Mr.
him
Dutton?
caught up. The other thing is the STEM summer. My daughters are rising.
Mr. Dutton, we are having trouble hearing you, and I'd like to give you the time to finish your comment, but we're not able to hear you right now.
So, electric buses to be looked at. And then the last items, I guess I have.
Mr. Dutton, can you hear me? Mr. Dutton? Mr. Jones, is
Have I
Mr.
lost you?
Dutton?
Am I back?
Oh, can you hear me now? Mr. Dutton, can you hear me? Mr. Dutton,
I can.
you can hear us? Okay, we have had trouble hearing the last
In and
part
out.
of
Are you? Am I?
what you were saying. Mr. Dutton? Is there any way you could call in, Mr. Dutton? We'd be happy to hear your full comment. I'm going to mute and try to reach out to him and see if we can connect to put him on the phone to speak.
He just dropped off as an attendee.
I'm going to try to reach him real quick and then I will report back. Wasn't able to reach him, but Mr. Jones, it looks like Mr. Dutton may be in the list of attendees again. Could you try to promote him?
I'm not seeing him in the list of attendees. I noticed he dropped off just a little while ago.
Well, I tried to reach him and unfortunately his voicemail was full. And so,
I don't see him dialed in as a phone user either.
okay. Well, unfortunately, we won't be able to finish his comment, but Mr. Dutton, if you watch this recording, please feel free to send us your written comments. We would love to hear the rest of what you had to say. And he was the last speaker signed up. So with that, I would like to thank the renaming committee for all of their hard work getting us to this point, and our staff for all of their hard work getting us to this point. And unless anyone has any final comment, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, this is Brenda Stevens. I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Stevens, a second from Ms. Moore. Mr. Atherton?
Yes, Hillary, before I say something as part of discussion, I just wanted to just say that we did get a lot of comments that we didn't read tonight, but we did get them and we are reviewing them right through that other form. So I just wanted to say it publicly that we have those. And
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's a good point. There were folks that submitted written feedback. It wasn't signed up as public comment, but it was feedback that the board has received and read. Absolutely. Good point, Mr. Atherton. Ms. Doyle's not here. Ms. Hauser?
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Smiley?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you.